For 2 decades, the Pentagon ran simulations on a nightmare scenario, a conflict they prayed would remain locked in the realm of theory. It wasn't about another missile barrage or a proxy skirmish. It wasn't about a gradual escalation contained to the familiar battlefields of the Middle East. This was the scenario where Iran's strategy went global. That scenario just became reality. Iran has now ignited its seventh simultaneous war front. And this latest front isn't in the Middle East. For the first time, all seven are active at the exact same moment. 7 distinct theaters of military operations running concurrently across 3 continents, orchestrated by Iranian forces, their proxies, and their vast network of aligned assets. The events of the past single day paint the picture. Consider Djibouti. This small African nation hosts Camp Lemonnier, the United States' sole permanent military installation on the African continent. Its outer perimeter was just struck by drone attacks. For 6 hours, silence. No warning, no group stepped forward. Then, confirmation arrived from a previously unknown entity calling itself the East Africa Resistance Front, an Iranian-aligned militia. Western intelligence agencies first learned of its existence when it announced itself by attacking American soldiers. Simultaneously in Venezuela, a sophisticated cyber campaign targeted the colonial pipeline network. This is the second such attack in 4 years, but this time the digital fingerprints were different. The operation was traced back to servers operating from within Venezuelan territory, bearing unmistakable Iranian technical signatures. The result? The pipeline supplying 45% of the fuel to the American East Coast was knocked offline, again. Then there was Germany. A seemingly coordinated protest at Ramstein Air Base, America's largest military installation outside its own borders, a base that stores nuclear weapons, escalated dramatically. The perimeter was breached. Within the crowd that stormed the grounds, authorities later confirmed at least 14 individuals with established ties to the IRGC, Iran's elite military force. 3 continents, a 24-hour window, 7 active fronts. This is the scenario Pentagon planners codenamed a global cascading asymmetric response. The assumption was always that Iran would never attempt it. The coordination was deemed too complex, the risk of American retaliation too immense. Iran just proved those assumptions wrong. They attempted it, and by every measure, they succeeded. While the world's attention was fixed on missiles arcing over Israel, the conflict quietly escaped the confines of the Middle East. To understand why this is a fundamental shift, you have to grasp the full scope of what's happening on all 7 fronts. Front 1 is Lebanon. Hezbollah has fired over 4,700 rockets into Israel in the last month. This isn't random harassment. It's a calculated campaign designed to saturate the Iron Dome's defense capabilities, creating gaps for more precise weaponry. Northern Israel has seen over 340 casualties, and towns within 10 kilometers of the border stand empty, their residents evacuated. Front 2 is Yemen. The Houthis have effectively shut down the Red Sea to commercial traffic. In the past 6 weeks, 73 vessels have been attacked or forced to reroute. Traffic through the Suez Canal, which normally handles 12% of global trade, has plummeted by 62% as ships take the longer, safer route around Africa. Lloyd's of London has officially designated the Red Sea a war zone, making transit economically unfeasible due to soaring insurance premiums. Front 3 is Iraq. Since the latest escalation, Iranian-backed militias have launched 147 attacks on American bases. Facilities like Al-Assad, supposedly protected by formal agreements, now face daily bombardment. While exact casualty figures remain classified, the number of medical evacuation flights has jumped 400% compared to last year. Front 4 is Syria. American forces in the east, a remnant of the campaign against ISIS, have been targeted 52 times. The base at Al-Tanf, which controls a vital highway, has been under siege for 2 weeks. Resupply convoys can't get through, leaving the roughly 200 American soldiers there effectively isolated. Front 5 involves direct action from Iran itself. They've launched 3 waves of ballistic and hypersonic missiles at Israeli and American targets across the region. The total exceeds 400 missiles. Interception rates have fluctuated between 65% and 85%. but dozens have gotten through. The resulting infrastructure damage across Israel and Gulf states has already surpassed $4 billion. Front 6 is Gaza. Despite 8 months of intense Israeli military operations, Hamas continues to fight. Tunnel networks are still partially operational, and rocket launches are a near-daily occurrence. The very conflict that sparked this entire chain reaction remains unresolved, tying down Israeli forces that can't be shifted to other fronts. 6 active fronts, all simultaneously draining American and Allied resources, demanding attention and responses that are impossible to give all at once. Then, 24 hours ago, the 7th Front opened. But its location is what makes it the most dangerous element of all. It's not in the Middle East, it's everywhere else. This activation reveals what Iran has been building for 40 years. It's not just the well-known groups like Hezbollah or the Houthis. It's a sprawling, shadowy architecture of sleeper cells, commercial fronts, cyber units, and influence assets, carefully positioned in nations with no obvious connection to Iran. Western intelligence had the pieces: a suspicious shipping firm in West Africa, a Venezuelan tech company with odd Iranian investment, a German cultural center that served as a meeting point for future IRGC operatives. But they never assembled the whole picture because doing so would force an uncomfortable truth. Iran's reach is, and always has been, global. Now, the whole picture is coming into focus all at once. The strike on Camp Lemonnier in Djibouti, home to 4,500 American personnel and the hub for all U.S. operations in East Africa, was a message. It killed no one, but it proved a point. Your African operations are vulnerable. Your global footprint is a target. The Colonial Pipeline cyber attack sent another message, broadcast directly to the American homeland. Gas stations running dry, panic buying, prices spiking. This wasn't hidden. The Iranian fingerprints were deliberately left visible, a clear declaration. Your infrastructure is not safe. The 23-minute breach at Ramstein Air Base put Iranian operatives within meters of American nuclear weapon storage on European soil. It was a demonstration of access, a threat made manifest. 3 attacks, 3 continents, 3 messages delivered in perfect sync. This is what Iran's global network looks like when it's activated. The coordination points to a plan that was years in the making, waiting for the signal to reveal the scale of what had been built. Inside Washington, the response to this global activation has generated a level of chaos that makes the regional conflicts seem manageable. The National Security Council has been in a continuous 19-hour session with the same principles. The president has canceled all public events. The vice president has been moved to an undisclosed location, her absence from the public eye the only clue for journalists. These are the protocols for when the homeland is under attack. They are active now. U.S. Central Command, CENTCOM, handles the 6 Middle Eastern fronts, but it has no authority over Africa, AFRICOM, Latin America, SOUTHCOM, or Europe, EUCOM. And no single command has authority over the cyber operations that span all of them. The entire military command structure built for regional conflicts is incapable of processing a global one. Every theater commander is asking for reinforcements that don't exist. Everyone is told to make do. Every front is prioritized, which in reality means none are. The math of generating force is now impossible. The U.S. has 1.3 million active duty personnel, but the requirements are staggering. Middle East operations already consume roughly 85,000. Djibouti needs at least 3,000 more. European security is being overhauled after the Ramstein breach. Homeland cyber defense is on a war footing, with National Guard activations in 14 states. The numbers simply don't add up. There aren't enough soldiers, ships, or aircraft to adequately respond to 7 simultaneous fronts. This isn't politics. It's arithmetic. Iran knew this before they activated. America is learning it now. Meanwhile, allies are receiving unprecedented calls. Germany has requested NATO Article 4 consultations following the Ramstein incident, the step before invoking Article 5, which asks if an attack on one is an attack on all. The implications of that answer are massive. Japan and South Korea have been asked to increase readiness so U.S. Pacific assets could potentially be redeployed. Both are hesitating publicly, privately calculating whether American security guarantees are still reliable when its resources are stretched across 7 fronts. Australia is quietly reviewing its basing agreements with the US. The concern being, if America can't protect its own bases from Iranian proxies, can it protect Australian bases from others? The alliance structure underpinning American global influence for 80 years is recalculating in real time. And the calculations aren't looking good. Let's be direct about the strategic reality. Iran didn't stumble into a seven-front war. They designed it. For 2 decades, U.S. strategy assumed an Iran conflict would stay regional, that Iran's capabilities were geographically limited. Those assumptions are now shattered. Iran's planners understood a fundamental truth of asymmetric warfare that America missed. A global presence is as much a vulnerability as a strength. Every base is a target. Every ally is a pressure point. You cannot defend everything, everywhere, all at once. And Iran has just forced America to try. Every dollar spent reinforcing Djibouti is a dollar not spent in the Middle East. Every ship sent to Europe is a ship not in the Strait of Hormuz. Every cyber team protecting the colonial pipeline isn't protecting military networks in the Gulf. Iran's strategy doesn't require winning any single front. It requires spreading America so thin that no front has adequate coverage, creating so many emergencies that the system designed for one collapses under the volume. And here's the most dangerous part. The 7 known fronts may not be all there are. Intelligence agencies are now scrambling to assess Iranian networks in countries never considered high priorities: Brazil, South Africa, Indonesia, the Philippines. What if Front 8, 9, and 10 are already in place, waiting for their signal? The uncertainty itself is a weapon. America must now treat every nation as a potential front, every piece of infrastructure as a potential target. The posture required to address that level of uncertainty is impossible to maintain. The cost is prohibitive. The personnel don't exist. Iran has created a situation where the U.S. is simultaneously fighting a war and waiting for it to expand further. This combination of active combat and anticipated expansion breeds strategic paralysis. You cannot focus on the fight in front of you when you're terrified of what might open up behind you. This is the conflict America always feared most, not because of any single battle, but because of the impossibility of managing them all, while uncertain if more are coming. So let's be clear on where things stand. Iran has activated 7 simultaneous war fronts across 3 continents: Lebanon, Yemen, Iraq, Syria, direct strikes, Gaza, and now global operations hitting Africa, Latin America, and Europe. Camp Lemonnier has been attacked. The colonial pipeline is down. Ramstein Air Base was breached. 3 attacks on 3 continents in 24 hours. The National Security Council hasn't stopped meeting for 19 hours. The Vice President is at an undisclosed location. Homeland attack protocols are active. NATO consultations have been requested. Allies are questioning American reliability. Alliance structures built over 80 years are under unprecedented strain. American military resources are spread too thin. The math is impossible. Commanders are told to manage with what they have. Every front is under-resourced. Intelligence is scrambling to find hidden networks in countries never before prioritized. The uncertainty about additional fronts is itself a weapon, and Iran has permanently changed the nature of this conflict. The Middle East is not a container. This war is not regional. Iranian reach is planetary. Iranian assets can activate anywhere. Iranian strategy has always been global, even when American attention was local. The conflict America most feared, a war with Iran everywhere simultaneously, has begun. It began while everyone watched missiles fly over Tel Aviv. It began while analysts debated the Strait of Hormuz. It began while focus was on the region and ignored the world. Now attention must focus everywhere at once. Resources must deploy everywhere at once. Defense must materialize everywhere at once. That is impossible. Iran knows it's impossible. That's why they built this strategy. The conflict has left the Middle East. The war has gone global. The next 72 hours will determine if America can adapt to a fight it never prepared for, or if the system designed for regional power projection breaks under the weight of a simultaneous planetary threat. 7 fronts active, 3 continents engaged, 0 certainty that it's over. Pay attention. Because wherever you are, whatever you assumed about the boundaries of this conflict, those boundaries no longer exist. The war is everywhere.